Hey, this is Joe coming in a little late here. Sorry, we had some problems with the recording day, and it made it so that I had to mix this at home, and I totally don't have the intro and outro song, so we can just pretend like I'm playing the intro right here. So it's like boom, 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 boom.
Welcome to yet another Patreon invite episode of Ultima Final Fantasy. Today we have on the esteemed Hat. You may know him from the forums as the man that posts his own. I think isn't it you that does the other podcast? Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We got a podcast on YouTube, Phoenix Edge RPG Podcast. Yep.
Yeah. So this is the bastard that keeps posting his other show on our show's website.
I asked if I could do it once, and then I realized I've just been doing it several times, but I feel bad about that. Sorry about that. But
no, it's fine. I don't care.
It's fine. This is the ultimate plug now.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, most of our big listeners, the people that not like Craig Big, but that are really active and really into the podcasts that we do, they listen to a lot of the other people's podcasts who are also really into the podcasts that we do. In addition to that, so Bandrum's horror movie podcast, Void's show has a bunch of our listeners because we, talked to him, and he's a big part of the early UFF days. So it's like this big community of, people listening.
Yeah, and I've checked out all those too. So at least what I could find on the forums. So it's cool stuff. You got a really cool community on your forums. Really enjoy it.
Yeah, I tried on some of them, but
what type of things you cover at? I'm assuming RPGs if it's Phoenix Edge RPG podcast, but what RPGs have you gone through?
Yeah, so originally I was trying to run through a game a month, and then we would cover a full game, like a review, and then in between we would talk about news and RPG, big RPG news, like the Final Fantasy VII Remake, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. However, it quickly dawned on me that finishing a game a month, that got pretty intense. Especially when it was getting a little bit older games, even Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I never played that game before. That game drove me nuts, and I had to finish that in a month. Or Dragon Quest V. Some other games like Final Fantasy 13 I've already beaten, but we covered that. 15. I'm currently working on Secret of Mana, so kind of line up the games. But right now we're just kind of getting a little more casual with the reviews, taking my time, so I'm not wanting to hang myself every month. But we're usually just covering main topics like Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition was one of the things we talked about, and stuff like that.
Very cool. So about was it a time thing? The reason why a game a month was too much?
Yeah, it was. Well, see, here's the thing. I'm a college student. I work part time. I was in the military, so they're paying for me to go to school, and they send me a paycheck. But even then, and you guys know, you guys were in college. Sometimes you have immense amount of time, and then other weeks you just have absolutely no time. And so I kept finding myself getting down to that date where we'd have to review it, and I would need to. If it was a game I've never played before, I'd have to put in 14-hour play sessions on the weekend, and it was just not fun. So
I can sympathize. I can empathize even. With that situation.
Yeah. I cannot. I know how it is, though. It is pretty frustrating at times. There have been times where that's happened, but I don't know. Usually, I'm ahead of the curve. So,
it's one thing if you really like the game, but it's
true,
if it's a game you're not really that ecstatic about, 14 hours, it makes you want to just yeah.
Can I ask you, Hat? Do you listen to Nude Clan by any chance?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
I don't listen to every episode. I listen to...
Can you tell this to everybody who fucking listens to Nude Clan?
Up?
Can you tell this to everybody who listens to Nude Clan what this is like to play Digimon, a crappy game, and maybe you don't want to put that much time into it. Maybe you don't. There's a mental blockade there. It just hurts. It hurts to play the game. Like in my stomach, I have like anxiety from playing like a crappy, huge RPG. Oh, man.
You just wake up and you're like, yeah, I'll just finish it today. And you start playing it and you're just like, oh my God, this is going to be a long day.
I can't do this. Yeah, dude. I've been going through my life. I've been seeing like my father get older. I've been seeing like, I'm looking at, I need to move on with my life, a whole bunch of like life stuff coming up, and like time is moving too fast for me right now. As soon as I put in that Digimon game, the hour is the slowest hour of all time. I remember I had to put in like 5 hours 2 days ago. And 5 hours when you're not playing Digimon goes by like that. 5 hours when you're playing Digimon. The Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory.
Oh, man, that sounds like a gem.
Oh, no, it's not.
The memory part is, but
when you're
that
doing
would be
that,
a fucking awesome name, though.
When you're doing that, just suddenly the hour just goes as slow as it went when you were in school waiting for 3 o'clock to hit. Right, to get out of school. That's how slow it goes. That feeling of just like, God, just come on. So anyway,
I was laughing when I was listening to your review on Final Fantasy Tactics with like how long the battles would last, and you were just like, dude, I just want to go to bed. Like,
oh my God, those were bad too. But Tactics is not nearly as bad of a game as.
No, it's an amazing game. But
Digimon Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to Tactics a little bit here then. All right, Phoenix Edge RPG podcast. Is that only on YouTube?
No, there's also audio version. It's on iTunes and I think most podcatchers.
Okay, so you do have an RSS feed. Because I was gonna technicality this motherfucker if it didn't have an RSS feed. I'm like, technically,
there's an audio version. Yeah,
not a podcast. Get that shit out of here.
There it is. All right, perfect. So let's wind back the clock here, Hat.
Yeah.
What was your first?
What was your first Final Fantasy, and when did you play it in your life?
Okay, so my first Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy VII, and I think I got it when I was like 8 or 9. And basically, the way I got it is I had just gotten a PlayStation, and I never had a Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis. I had the regular Nintendo before that. So going to the PlayStation was just like mind-altering. I did not know graphics could look that good. And my grandma knew I was always talking about the PlayStation. So she saw something at Toys R Us that said PlayStation on it, and she just bought it for me. And when I opened it, it was the Final Fantasy VII strategy guide, but there was no game. She thought it was like an art book or something. So I was like, what the hell? And so my parents didn't want her to feel bad, so they went out and bought me Final Fantasy VII. And I popped that thing in the PlayStation, and that was the best-looking game I'd ever seen. It blew me away. I used to spend hours just, like, restarting the game and, like, renaming Cloud to, like, stupid names like Dumbass or whatever, and just, like, being a 9-year-old kid just laughing that Barrett keeps calling him Dumbass. But, like, I could never get past that first boss because I was so young, and it would say attack when the tail is up.
Yeah, because they fucked up the translation, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like 9 years old, and I would read that, and I'd be like, oh, okay, and I would attack when the tail is up, and I would just get annihilated. And so, I played the first part of that game so many times until, like, I just couldn't beat the boss. And I put it down for a while, came back when I was maybe in 6th grade, and I tried it again, and it occurred to me, like, every time I attack when the tail is up, I die. So let's not attack when the tail is up. And I still remember that boss. I beat that boss that time, and I was like, oh, my God, this is amazing. The story keeps continuing. And, of course, my PlayStation broke, and I could not save.
Right there.
What's up?
It wasn't just the end at that boss.
Credits.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, too. I didn't know how long this game was, so... like when I finally beat that boss, like I was like, oh, like, okay, my PlayStation can't save now. Let me just get to the end of this game. Because most games I'd played at that point, you could beat in a sitting or two. Mm-hmm. And it just kept going on. And then, I would die at some point, and I would have to restart the game. So eventually I got a memory PlayStation that would actually save and I was able to get through that entire game. And I was bringing my strategy guide to school every day, and I was like showing all my friends, and we were all getting into it. And I was like 12 years old. I cried when Aerith died. Hey, whatever.
So I assume you weren't spoiled on that.
No, I had no idea.
Okay,
well, okay,
That
so
must have been
actually,
nice.
let's say this. Because my PlayStation could not save, I kept wanting to know what happened in the story, so I started reading the strategy guide like it was a novel.
Oh, okay.
I know, I was a geek. So I was reading that at school, and that's how I got all my friends into it. But I started reading that, and I kind of knew what happened, but I had convinced myself that there was something I could do to change it. And I don't know, I got really into that game. But
Perfect. So you say was it about 6th grade when you beat it?
yes.
Okay, all right. And what was your next Final Fantasy? How did you move on to the next thing?
Yeah, so from there, one of my friends told me that there was this game called Final Fantasy VIII, and I was like, whoa, they made a sequel. Yeah, so I bought that, and I was really confused because I thought Cloud was going to be in that one. And, this was not Cloud.
Yeah, not quite.
Yeah, and I was like, where is this on the continent? Is this on the other side of the earth? Where's this happening? And it took me a while to realize, it was a completely new world. And I really liked that game initially when I was younger. I thought it was great. I thought the story was great. And recently I've always seen people making fun of the game, just jokes about it and just how ridiculous the plot is. And I always thought that was kind of over the top. And I bought it on Steam, the updated version, and I ran through it again about a year and a half ago. And that game is preposterous.
Yeah, it's
I
ridiculous.
was I don't know what. There's it's it has good things in it. There's certain character arcs that are really, really good and well thought out. And there's other things where you're just scratching your head, who thought of this? This is a terrible plot point. So
Yeah, it's wait, you're gonna shoot us into space in a giant revolver? Shouldn't that kill us instantly? Shouldn't we just smash up
Yeah.
against the wall and just be liquefied? I don't know about this.
yeah, so I think a lot of that had to do with, if I remember correctly, the game was in development for a year and a half. So they really pushed that thing out after Final Fantasy VII. So I think if they had taken maybe another year, they could have worked some things out. Because even the battle system, it drove me nuts that the enemies would level up with me. Yeah, because I like to grind. I that's what I like to do. So I remember being a kid, grinding and just being dude, these guys are I can't, what's going on here? Because everything's just grinding with me. So I had a really hard time with it. I still think it's a really good game, but yeah.
Okay, all right.
So did you get 8 on release then? Or
What's that?
close to? Did you get it close to release date? Is that one of your?
I think I actually got. I think I picked it up a little bit around after Final Fantasy IX came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I waited. I ended up buying it from Blockbuster actually. They had some used copy that had 1,000 scratches on the back. So
Of course.
Nice, yeah.
I remember when you were talking about the game kept going, I was thinking back to borrowing Final Fantasy VIII from my friend and just looking that there were 4 discs, and I just didn't understand that you could have a game spread out on 4 discs, which was nuts to me.
see, but that kind of always I liked that as a kid because people would come over and I'd be check this game out. It has 4 discs, and they'd be
It's
whoa,
huge.
Yeah. Look at my discs.
Look at the
yeah,
size.
I had to have something to show off, right? So.
Yeah. I've got 4.
Oh man! All right, so take us through what was after 8.
So after that, I immediately jumped on 9. So pretty linear here. And I fell in love with 9. 9 is my favorite Final Fantasy.
Oh, spoilers! There you go.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry. So anyways, I immediately fell in love with Final Fantasy 9. I did not play any of the older games at that point. So I didn't realize that a lot of the things in Final Fantasy 9 were just callbacks.
Yeah.
I just really liked the story. I liked everything going on. And I played that game so many times when I was a kid. I love it personally. I think the music is fantastic. I thought the characters were fantastic. Beatrix is awesome. I mean, come on.
She's great.
Yeah.
I love that game too. What did you think going aesthetically from 7 to 8 to 9? What was the journey there? Thinking that these are sequels and yet visually they're very different from each other.
Yeah, I hear that a lot, and when I look at it now, I can see what people were saying. But when I first got that game, it honestly blew me away, and I think it was because the FMVs, like the FMVs in that game, are just amazing for a PS1 game. So I think in that perspective, like I do think those are like even higher quality than I saw on like Final Fantasy 7 or 8, maybe, right? But yeah, as far as like the chibi like characters and stuff, I wasn't a huge fan of that, but I got over it real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of how we felt too. Like I still kind of, some of the artwork in 9 still kind of bothers me, but I don't know, the game's really fun, so it doesn't matter.
I got like an OCD thing with matching cases, and the fact that like the FF9's logo is different drives me nuts. Like when I'm looking at the or when I'm looking at the games from the side, like the fact that the logo is just so different. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, I think, I mean, the logo is one thing. They could have, made it look like some of the other games. But, I mean, as far as the art style, I do think that it kind of, as much as I would have preferred if they went with a more realistic look, I do think that it kind of fits the kind of humor of the game,
Yeah.
Because I think it would have been a little weird if it was like hyper realistic, and then you had like this creature that eats frogs, and like it's just, it would have seemed odd to me. But
true, yeah, and then that's kind of another way to capture the earlier Final Fantasies with the chibi and crazy ass designs that 9 has, like for the characters themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Final Fantasy 9 takes it to like the limit where I'm like willing to tolerate it. And then like Square lately has been like doing it like over the top, like chibi characters and some of their like off titles that I just find repulsive.
So you're not into the World of Final Fantasy look? Is that what you're telling me right now?
Oh, dude, that's just I can't even look at it. Like I want to play that game, but every time I watch a trailer, I'm just like, dude, what were they thinking? So
too bad. Well, if they force it on your Phoenix Edge RPG podcast, that'll.
Well, yeah, somebody asked about it last week, so I'll have to talk about it.
Just don't say anything. Just like pretend you didn't notice it. We don't have that option, but you do.
Yeah, I'm wondering on your Phoenix show, like, how do you guys pick the games to play?
Well, right now we pretty much just talk about it and we play what we want, so we kind of have that
must be
advantage. I think that was a good foresight because I think New Clan, you guys have been doing voting, right?
Oh yeah, we have. Yeah, we have.
That's you've had to play some real stinkers, huh?
Yeah. Someone thought Star Wars Bounty Hunter was going to be some classic, great old game.
Yeah, I mean, I liked that game when I was like 12 or whatever when it came out, but
well,
yeah.
you were wrong, and it's horrible. Have you played it since you were 12?
No, and the fact that like I see everywhere, everyone's like, "This is an awful game," makes me question my taste when I was a kid.
The visuals of the game just being Star Wars and you shoot a gun, I think is really just all you need to entertain someone who's 12
when I was
years
a
old.
kid, like, come on.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, that is it's mass murder. That's what you're doing.
So what do you love so much about FF9 besides the music?
Yeah, what's made you come back to it so many times over the years? Like, it sounds like it's the one you've played through easily the most times, and it obviously still holds up to you.
So originally when I was a kid and I was playing it, I think that I just got really wrapped up in just a sense of adventure and just the actual story, which is kind of strange, but when I was a kid, I was really into the story of Zidane, and just like his whole thing with Princess Garnet or Dagger, and I was just really like, I was like, wow, this is amazing, and I thought it was kind of cool how it was starts off pretty tropey, and then it just like it kind of builds on that on purpose, and it just really struck a chord with me, and when I played it, I actually did not play it again for like 6 or 7 years, and I played it like maybe in my early 20s, and I hit it again, just being older, a little more mature, and like the game like actually felt like a different game to me because there was all this other stuff going on that I just didn't realize with the stuff with Vivi, with him questioning or just coming to terms with the fact that he's going to die one day.
Oh yeah.
Or even like the simple stuff that I thought was really crazy, like writing the love letter to get Zidane, but then Baku drops it, and then like Steiner picks it up, and then he drops it, then Beatrix drops it, and then like all these people in this game like find this love letter and like are all thinking like everyone's obsessed with each other, and it's just I don't know, like I could tell like they like really put a lot of thought into this game. Even like Beatrix with her just realizing that what she's doing is wrong. I mean, you can see her throughout the game while she's being asked to do some horrible stuff. She keeps looking at these black mages, and she's like, what's different from me and them? Like they're a puppet, and I'm just doing stuff that I don't agree with, and I'm still doing it. What's different between me and them? And when she finally turns, and I think it's a masterpiece personally. I mean, there are things I have problems with that game. I think it's absolutely retarded that they make you play that card game. And I still don't understand the rules. Like, because sometimes I'm pretty sure I was supposed to win, but I still lose. And then also the other scene where Sid is going to get the key to unlock people, and you have that creature that you have to like move when he's not looking at you.
I love that.
That thing makes me want to hang myself.
I love that part.
Yeah, I think that's one of the funniest parts in the entire series.
It's funny, like the first 2 or 3 minutes, but then like after because I'm very impatient, so after like 20 minutes, I'm just like, dude, this is ridiculous.
Oh my god,
this fucking game just throws it in there randomly.
All right, fair. It's fair, that's fine. It's fine if you don't like that part. I personally, that's a standout.
I love it for
me.
like the humor, but for gameplay wise, that was a terrible idea.
Gameplay wise, yeah, I remember it being a little frustrating.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
So I get what you're saying there. Okay, so after FF9, what'd you do? You said you played most of them, so I'm wondering like when did you decide that you were like a fan of the series and you were going to go through and play most of these games?
I think honestly, right after Final Fantasy VII, like I didn't realize it was a series. I thought that was just the name. Like I was like trying to figure out why 7.
Oh,
and so once I saw 8, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And then 9, right after I think 9, I just like it hit me. I was like, dude, I need to play all these games. I don't know if it was like I decided I was a fan. It was just like I needed more Final Fantasy after I'd get to the end. And I would just be like, what else is out there that I can get? So from there, Final Fantasy X was not out yet. Like I was seeing it like being reported in all the magazines, and I was catching like every screenshot. So I tried to locate other Final Fantasies I could get. And so I got the Final Fantasy Chronicles or whatever for the PlayStation.
Final Fantasy, is that the one with the FF4 on it and Chrono Trigger?
Yes, it had Final Fantasy 4 and Chrono Trigger.
Got it.
And I was actually renting it from Blockbuster. And I only played Chrono Trigger at that point a little bit. I thought the battle system was cool, no random encounters. But I just really wanted to play Final Fantasy 4. Fell in love with that game, even on the PlayStation version. And I had to take the game back, and that was a bummer. But then I found out about emulation. So, I legally downloaded that game and played the crap out of it. So, yeah, from there, that kind of like really like opened my mind. I was like, wait, I can go play all these other games. So from there, I went from Final Fantasy 4 to, I think, 6. And obviously, that game is a masterpiece.
God, that's great.
I mean, I can't say enough about it, but where did I go from there? I think I went to Final Fantasy V, and then I went back and played all the Nintendo games from there. But I'm trying to think, what can I say about Final Fantasy 4 and 6? Final Fantasy 4, I think what struck me was the story. I was amazed that a Super Nintendo game could have such a great story. And that because I was playing it on my computer emulating it. I actually later went out and bought a Super Nintendo and bought the actual cartridge off eBay just to play it on my TV again. And even recently, I replayed it on my phone, actually, the 3D version. And I know you all are not crazy about that version, but I love that version. That's a good version.
Well, I never played that version. It's Craig who reviewed that one. With
really?
4. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've never played that version of 4 with the voice acting and the Schweiss makes fun of the character design mostly, I think.
Oh yeah, the character design is just preposterous. I mean, it's just I hate it so much. But and some of the voice acting of like the side characters is a little like kind of sounds like they just like took some guy off the street and was like, "Hey, read this paper." But
yeah,
like
that's part of my fear with the FF7 remake, though, because like if they're gonna remake the games, you know, that's all fine. But it's like we're used to the FF7 we got, and whatever they do that's like from left field, we're not gonna be able to latch on to that well. At least that's my fear. I don't know.
Yeah, the 7 remake, I want it to be a good game. I want it to be as good as the original or possibly even exceed it. But deep down, I just know it's not.
I wanted the new Star Wars movie to do the same.
Oh,
deep down, I know it just can't.
Yeah,
there's some people who just
thinking like, what was
turned
that?
off the podcast doing that.
That's all right.
Yeah,
They can go watch their movie again.
For Star Wars, for me, was like I liked it when I was watching it, and then I just after it like sunk in after a couple days, I was like,
nah,
I don't know about this one. Now I'm afraid to rewatch it.
Yeah.
If you think about it too hard, it's just like, wow, they didn't really this wasn't a good movie.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
And they're like, oh, but it's just like Empire. I'm like, yeah, but Empire had characters that I liked and didn't have a 30-minute
It had character development.
Fucking waste of my day.
You know what though? I will still say that Benicio del Toro is my favorite part of that movie.
That's true. It was pretty good.
So whatever.
It was worth it.
I don't know. I wish he was in it more. Like I wish he became like a huge character, but it was just kind of like a little side thing.
Yeah.
But whatever. Okay. All right. Star Wars talk aside.
Hey man, Final Fantasy has
Let's get
always
back to
been
the
Star Wars.
let's get back to the to the Star
So
Wars.
all those people
rip-offs.
that give a shit for talking about Star Wars all the time. It's
So
the same thing.
4 versus 6 versus 5. What are the pros and cons of each one as far as the Super NES era is concerned?
Yeah, so Final Fantasy IV, originally when I played it, I was all about the story, and I think that's really, for me, what I like the most about Final Fantasy IV is just how engaging I found the story, and the fact that it's on a Super Nintendo, and it's just like a really, really good story. And if you look at it in context of the whole Final Fantasy series, you can really tell, like, this is the time where, like, Final Fantasy actually starts becoming something that we recognize today, right? Like, when...
Right.
Like, yeah, when we like play a new Final Fantasy comes out, it resembles like, you know, Final Fantasy IV kind of sets up the structure of like what you expect for a story.
Yeah.
So I really liked it for that reason. I have a hard time, honestly, today replaying the Super Nintendo version because the encounter rate, it just makes me want to like pluck my eyeballs out. It's just like every 3 steps, just getting into an encounter. I don't know, the 3D version, I think that's why I like that version so much, is because it just kind of smooths some features out that were a little rough in the original. But still, it's a phenomenal Super Nintendo game. Final Fantasy V, I'll be honest, I played it originally when I was maybe in middle school, and I was all about the story for Final Fantasy. I did not care about gameplay. I was one of those people that would literally go through the game as fast as possible, and I would have armor that was from like 3 towns ago because I couldn't afford anything new. And like I would just be getting wrecked. And, you know, so I would just have to get through the game that way. So I was not that crazy about Final Fantasy V. However, now that I've kind of matured a little bit, I think, with my video game, I don't know what you would call expertise, I guess. but I've grown to appreciate gameplay a lot more, and I see a lot of people saying, hey, it's got the job system that's really well thought out. You can have like hundreds of possibilities, I think I saw somewhere. So I kind of want to go back and replay it for that reason, because maybe it'll strike a different chord with me. But to me, I thought it was kind of a weak Final Fantasy. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I heard a lot from a lot of people. So you're not alone in that opinion. I think that you will. I think that it deserves a replay, certainly, for you. I mean, personally, that's what I feel. The gameplay is, honestly, I don't know that many people who've played 5 and don't think that the gameplay is fantastic.
Yeah, and personally, for me, I mean...
and I think the story is better than people say.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I think the ending is really solid, and that's one thing that
ending section is great.
That really bothered me about 4 was I don't think the ending in 4 is really strong at all. So that's where like 5 kind of surprised me. I was like, wow, the ending to this game is way better than the nonsense that 4 put me through. And 4's story throughout is obviously worlds better than 5's, but like that ending bit just... I couldn't put 4 over 5 because of that. I was like, this ending is awful. Like, and all the emotion that you had, you just threw away. Except for maybe Edge and his parents. Like, that was still pretty powerful and stuff like that. But
I did not feel that way when I was 16 and played it the first time, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, too. Like, I mean, you could say, hey, the ending is better, but it's like, how long do you have to sit through, like, stuff?
A lot.
That's
a
true.
lot. It's a long game.
Like, I mean, come on. So.
All right. So FF6, better or worse than 4 in your opinion?
Yeah, it's better than 4 and 5.
I agree.
Final Fantasy 6 is amazing. I don't know, dude. When I first played that game, right when that opening sequence came up, with them like walking in the snow, I was just like, wow, this is like impressive. I've never seen a Super Nintendo game do this. The story was just extremely captivating. The character arcs for all the different characters. Just honestly, I think what really impresses me the most about Final Fantasy VI is just how much it pushed the Super Nintendo's like technology wise, right? It just did a lot of stuff that I thought like you don't see elsewhere on the Super Nintendo, which is kind of one of the reasons why it drives me nuts that there's that mobile version of the game that has like Microsoft Paint graphics. I don't know. Like I just don't like that version because it's like you have this game that was like a AAA game, like it put a lot of passion into it, and now you just put it on a phone and it's got like some intern just drew the graphics. Like I don't know, it's just not as good. So
doesn't have the soul that the original one has.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Like
yeah,
it's
you
just
would
like
think you would just be able to like professionally emulate the original version and sharpen up the image maybe a little bit.
Well, Square's always been confused about what their audience wants, though. I think we want children characters. Like, how many of these people that we've invited on are older than us? Most of them.
Yeah,
Most of them.
I don't know why. If you look at it, like all the Final Fantasies that have been like really popular. I mean, they haven't been like the protagonist hasn't been like super old, but I mean a little bit older, right? Like I think Cloud was in his early 20s. Titus, I say Titus. I think he was in his early 20s, and they keep going with these like 15-year-old characters. Like, drives me nuts.
Yeah, well, Titus, you could argue is thousands.
Oh, that's true. I mean, he's
super old. 1,000 years ago. Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. I think FF3. I think they were like 11 and crap like that. Like,
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
young.
But you can get away with it on the Nintendo because like you don't know.
Yeah, you don't
know?
see anybody. There's no like disgusting shot of Pinello and something during Revenant Wings. God damn it! Oh,
Yeah.
Well, and with like, see, and that's the thing
feel
too
like
with
a
like Final
creep
Fantasy
playing that on the
9.
train.
With Final Fantasy 9 with the PS4 version, it like pops up and it like I hate that it shows his age, which is 16, because I always thought that Zidane was like in his early 20s for some reason. So
He feels.
I mean,
older than
it's
16.
misleading.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that is odd. I kind of just ignore the age. Who gives a crap?
Just kind of block it out. Yeah.
Just block, as well as ignore the height, which I never understood why that's even included in like the little booklets. Like,
who cares?
Oh, this is useful.
yeah. Squall is like 5'9" or whatever. I'm like, Who cares?
So what are you, like, standing up, like, with, like, a measuring tape? Like, he comes up to my nose. Like, this is strange.
I guess the design department needed that information somehow, but we don't.
He's 3 inches tall on the screen.
Tall, yeah. All right. So you said you played the Nintendo ones after that? You mean like the original Nintendo, like the NES?
Yes.
Okay.
So I went back and said, you know what? I need to start with the original. And I put that, I downloaded the ROM and played that game, and I did not like it as much as I thought I would. I played it a lot since then, but dude, that game is not aged well. I think it looks like an amazing RPG for the Nintendo. It's like graphically, I think it looks a lot better than most other games out there. But that game just does some irritating stuff. Like, for example, the fact that it doesn't have auto target. So if you attack an enemy and then you choose somebody else to attack that same enemy, if the enemy dies on the first hit, your other party members will just attack air.
Yep.
Yeah, what the hell? No.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's like, who would do that in a real situation? Like, who's going to go attack air?
That was my first impression of that game, was this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life, because I've been used to, like, maybe not super new RPGs, but like, Super NES and on. Going back to the NES version of that game was just painful. So I would recommend Dawn of Souls. Did you ever pick that one up?
Yes, I think that version is a lot better.
Yeah.
However, there's just something about the fact that, like, I just want to beat the original. So I haven't actually beat the game. I've played Dawn of Souls, but every time I play it, I'm like, man, I feel guilty. I feel like I'm not playing the original and in all of its glory. So I keep trying to beat the original, but it just gets the better of me, because some of those design features just drive me nuts. Even the battle system, like after you win a battle, there's that 4-second delay before it tells you how much experience points you get.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That just after like 6 hours, that just is terrible.
Yeah. You're like mathematically figuring out, like, well, I just wasted 10 minutes waiting for this thing to calculate XP. Like, I can't justify this. I can't sit here anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and just even like buying potions, like when you go to buy a potion, it's like you can only buy one at a time. And that game, you need to buy like 50. So that takes an hour and a half.
It's an unforgiving mofo. And the reason to play Dawn of Souls is because it helps a little bit. You get the auto target thing back. It would be cool if they had a version that had all the fixes without changing the graphics. Like, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I would get really down on that for sure.
But yeah, they put in auto target, I guess is what you're calling it. I never heard that term before, so I'm excited about it. I'm going to use it every 5 seconds now. So they put that in, and then they let you the potion system, or the healing system, was improved. I remember watching Schweiss play the PS1 port of the original, which I believe had the targeting. Right?
Yeah, it had the auto target, but that's the only
improvement that it had.
They fucking thought of.
And I think the graphics were slightly improved, right?
Probably.
Yeah. So there were some other improvements in that version, but Dawn of Souls is kind of like the primo one. I think the FF2 also was improved with Dawn of Souls a lot as well. But
it's like a regular game.
Yeah.
Well, so the thing with Final Fantasy 2 is I played that game on my computer first, and that game was so difficult to play on the original version that I just threw my principles out the window and I played the Dawn of Souls version. And I did not feel guilty about it, because and even that version is just frustrating to play because of the encounter rate is just through the roof.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I have a lot of issues with Final Fantasy 2, but what I really like about it is I think it has a really good story for a Nintendo game.
See, now that's the one that is Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that's a good story.
It is. It's a great story. Keep telling it. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I think there's multiple turning points in the series. I think in terms of story, I think the earliest kind of like iteration of like what Final Fantasy was going to be was FF2, and then it probably like it matured and became FF4 later on.
Yeah, and 3 kind of backstepped, but
3. What do you think of 3? Did you play like a fan translated version back in the day, or how did you play 3?
I did.
Okay, how did that go?
Well, when I first downloaded the game and booted it up, I was immediately impressed with the visuals. Like, it was like they put a lot more work, I thought, into this one. Like, it had like airships flying around, like explosions.
FF3.
There was like little scenes, scripted scenes. Like, it was very impressive.
The original FF3 was apparently like they maxed out the space that you could have on the cartridge.
Yeah, the
NES back in
OG one.
the
The OG one's supposed to be bitching, which sucks because we never got it.
day. We only ever played the 3D one.
Yeah.
All right, keep going. Sorry.
No, it's cool. So I think that, like, I actually heard that they maxed out the cartridge, and that's kind of the reason why the plot is a little thin. But yeah, I've actually never beat that game because I insist on playing the original, and that game gets very unforgiving. I think at one point it was like 10,000 gil to stay at the end, and that's outrageous. So I've never finished it. I think eventually I'm going to go back and play the 3D version of it. I heard that one's really good. So
It's not bad.
Yeah.
We rank it pretty low in our rankings, but it's only out of comparison with the others. I think it's pretty solid.
well, I think if they could have like mixed the story from Final Fantasy 2 with like the visual experience of Final Fantasy 3, at least on the original, I think you would have had like an amazing Nintendo game. So
it's a lot closer to FF1, certainly.
Yeah.
And then it tries to do a job system, and at least the version we had, it was like it was the job system of FF5, only less jobs, but also some characters would have like you'd have to play 10 battles or something in order for them to accept the job.
Yeah, to get used to the new job. And the original game didn't have that.
It was a terrible.
Yeah, that sounds ridiculous.
The original game, you could swap jobs and you'd just be fine. You wouldn't be like having, I don't know, whatever the fuck they justified it as.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I look at it is I feel like that game is kind of like a relic or like something that you put in a museum and it's like, oh, look at that. But like, nobody's actually living in the Egyptian pyramids. Like, we just look at it. Like, it's a terrible place to live now, So.
Yeah, I think the Japanese, at least the people who vote on Famitsu, they look on that game pretty fondly. I think.
Yeah, they fucking love that game.
I think that game was in their top 10 of all time list.
Well, in context, I think it's a very good game, but it's not aged too well. So.
It must have more of like a piece of history as far as like video game culture in Japan than it does here. Well, certainly it does.
Because we didn't get it.
Because we didn't get it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe because of that, it's seen as it's highly regarded, or maybe the original version is just better, and we all just need to go back and play it again. Who knows? 10,000.
Maybe I need to just quit complaining about it and actually finish it.
There you go. 10,000 gil for hotel stays is a bit much.
Yeah, I mean it was the same type of inn anywhere else. I mean, same basic bed. It wasn't like anything special. So
you weren't getting the
that's probably the
suite.
FF2 treatment, where it's like depending on how much you're injured, equals how much the hotel is going to cost.
Jesus, that was fucked up, man.
Yeah, it's like this is like the wild west of like the old school RPG where like there wasn't a set norms and people were just experimenting, and some of those design flaws are just atrocious. So
yeah, like the potion revives some health. It could be 30. It also could be 12. And when you're balls deep in a dungeon, you really don't want it to be 12.
It's like, oh, fuck me.
Yeah.
All right, so we got the NES, Super NES, and PlayStation eras. PS2. How are we feeling about those?
That was a great era. I mean, I got Final Fantasy X when it came out. I made the mistake of asking for it for my birthday, which my birthday is in January, and it came out in December, so I had to watch commercials about the game for like a whole month. Yeah. And I had the money to buy it too. I don't know what I was thinking, but my mom would not let me buy it. So I finally got it for my birthday, and I plopped that thing in, and I played it in I think like 4 days. I don't know. I was on Christmas break or whatever, and
what? Wait, did you beat it in 4 days? Or just
Yeah,
play
well,
it
I mean,
in
I was
4
a kid,
days?
man. I think I played like 13 or 14 hours a day. Like, dude, that game, like right when I played on my PlayStation 2, I popped it in. Like, I did not know, like, this was like the first time I saw Final Fantasy 7. Like, these graphics were so amazing. It was voice acted. I'd always had to read the text. Like, this was like Square taking it to a new level. Like, this was so immersive to me. So, yeah, I think I played. Well, maybe it was 5 days. I think it was very short. I played in some long play sessions, but that game is just. I still think to this day is honestly an amazing game, and it drives me nuts when people kind of nitpick it to death today and put it by today's standards. Because I think if you look at it in context, that game is just phenomenal. I mean, the story is just. I don't know. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here. It's a really good game.
It's a fantastic game.
Yeah, I mean the battle system is really well done. It's quick. It lets you change party members out in the middle of battle. The equipment system I'm not too crazy about, but you get used to it. The sphere grid's kind of iffy, but I like it. But I think what really struck with me with that game was just how engrossing the story was. I mean, I always feel like when I pop a new game in, if the first hour or two doesn't captivate me, I don't want to play it. And Final Fantasy X does a really good job of just like having all this crazy stuff happen like really early in the game, and it just hooks you right then. You just want to keep playing it. So I really like that game. I'm not a huge fan of 10-2. I didn't like the sequel.
No, okay.
But yeah, that game is rock solid. It's a good game. I think it has one of the best endings in Final Fantasy. So.
Yeah, my all-time favorite ending so far, unless one of the spin-offs can beat it. It's my number one. Number two.
I mean, I think from what you guys have left to play, I think I don't think it's going to get toppled. So
there you go. Okay, FF10, great game. Did you ever play the MMOs?
I downloaded Final Fantasy, or I bought Final Fantasy 11, and then I took it home and installed it on my computer. And then I found out I had to pay every month, and I didn't have a credit card. So I talked to my dad about it, and he was not having it. Even though I had the money, he just did not understand that why you would pay every month if you already bought the game.
If you already bought it, yeah.
He was a very wise man. So
I can understand your father's point of view.
yeah, so
still
we
feel
returned that
way about
game, and I was
FF11.
very disappointed. So I had to wait a very long time for Final Fantasy 12, but I never ended up playing Final Fantasy 11. I'm interested in playing it eventually. I listened to all your guys' episodes on Final Fantasy 11, and it makes me less excited to play the game.
Sorry.
Until you get towards the kind of like the later half of the game, it seems like it gets really good.
The expansions are better story-wise. So if you're in it for the story, you're not going to get it from the original FF11.
Yeah, I would say the
missions.
expansions have better stories than some of the mainline games in the Final Fantasy series, quite easily, in fact. And I would say there are probably 3 or 4 expansions, or probably 3 of them that have better storylines than anything that 14 has put out, too, which is kind of sad, but I don't regret saying that at all.
See, but this is like the thing, like the dilemma I have with, like you said, with Final Fantasy V. Like you're like, well, it has a great ending. I'm like, how much crap do I have to put up with before I get there?
A lot more than FF5.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know that. For
I've
sure.
still got our times up on my screen right now, actually. 15 days, 22 hours. And that's fast. That's very fast.
That's 15 complete days, right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. And I log out when I'm done. I don't fucking stand around. I log out because I want that to be pure. But we are... I think Jake and a couple other people from the mobile crew are thinking about, and a few other people in the community are thinking about starting up Final Fantasy XI kind of soonish. So that would be kind of cool. And it's definitely Misery.
That might be the motivation for me to get started.
Yeah, Misery does love company.
It's funny, though. If me and you, Schweiss, if we started that game again, we could totally do it really quick.
If we made new characters?
Those missions, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. We know exactly what we need to do, though.
Yeah.
Define really quick.
Probably like a week.
Probably
a week solid of...
I bet that first campaign, it would only be 30 hours.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to do that much. And we know exactly where
Say
you need to go
only.
to level.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the even better part is if we got on with other people, we could crush.
I would also use
game.
one character of mine to give money to the other character of mine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or what we could do is
And
we
then
could
buy all the needed equipment drops from the auction house.
Sounds like you guys got quite the plan there. Are
Yeah.
you gonna do this or
No.
no?
fuck that.
Nope, never playing that game again.
I might. I would play it if someone else paid for my subscription and for me to join in on certain fights that they couldn't beat. That's when I would play it. That's
Wow.
about it, though.
Okay.
Or if it was a free login campaign and I didn't have anything going on, which will never happen, I would jump
Yeah,
on.
there's
And
this
help.
thing called YouTube. Like,
Yeah. Just
you can
experience.
always
Well,
find
dude,
something on there.
Yeah, there is YouTube, but
FF11
Oh, I
is
don't
kind
mean
of
to help you. I
void.
just
of-
mean-
FF11 is
Distract
fucking
you from
hard
the
too.
game.
FF11 likes to fuck you. So just keep that in mind. If you do go through it, there are parts that are not.
This is what I was talking about. After like listening to your guys' episodes, it made me want to play the game less.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it's still a
No,
good
I'm
game.
just kidding. Like you guys, I really liked how you talked about what really got me was the expansions. That's what really got me excited to play it. So eventually I'm going to do it. I'm a Final Fantasy fan. I have to do it.
Yeah.
But
Just know it's a
maybe not
16-day
today.
commitment.
Yeah, it's big. It's big.
Longer if you don't have other people with you. Whew. Okay. All right. So FF12. I know you
All right.
you at least like it. We were talking before we started recording.
yeah, so that game came out, and I was one of those people that were like, I can't believe they got rid of the turn-based battle system. Because I thought they, like, from all I saw in the videos and stuff, it looked like an action game, and I was very against action games at that point. So I did not buy it, and I know there was a lot of people online on forums and such that were trashing it and saying it was a horrible game. So I originally did not pick it up, and I was like, well, Square has to come out with a bad game eventually. You know, they've made 10 or 11 great games, all these side games that are great. They have to make a bad game. And so I just did not buy it until I think one day I was at a Kmart or something, and I saw it for like on clearance for like $25 or something like that. And I was like, let me pick it up. It's not that much money, and I love that game. Yeah, like I don't know if it's because I didn't expect much, but I just really liked it. I've even played it a couple times this year. I mean, I have some issues with it. I think the second half of the story, it kind of takes a nosedive until like the last hour or two. But like all in all, I really like the Gambit system. I really like the characters themselves. I think Penelo has no reason to be in the party at all, but that's fine. I don't use her, so it's a great game. I mean, I don't know why people trash it. I think that this recent re-release with the Zodiac Age, I think that version is way too easy. Because I actually because I was excited for the Zodiac Age, I replayed the original before the Zodiac Age came out, and I got my bearings with it again. And so I bought the Zodiac Age, plopped it in, and like, dude, that game is. I didn't find it anywhere near as difficult as the original, and I was kind of disappointed about that. So that's the only thing about that release that I can't really recommend. But
Just too easy. Did you do the × ridiculous?
yeah, well, see, the thing with that is that's
Hard
the only
not
time
to.
I would die is if I did the ×4. Because you can't stop the heal or whatever, you know. So, but the reason I say it's easy is because, you know, when you get your license board, you can see everything on the license board, whereas the original you could only see licenses that were next to ones you've already activated. So you can see all the HP squares from the get-go. They've added like so many more HP squares. And then when you add the second job on top of it, like, dude, you are just so OP. Like, it's ridiculous. So, I don't know. I didn't like it. I think what really gets to me too is just I see people that have never played the game before, and they'll play that version only, and they'll be like, "Oh, I didn't even have to touch the controller," and I'm like, I don't feel like you could do that in the original. Maybe for the first 5 or 6 hours, but
You could, but
Yeah. I moved that Gambit system to just be like where I didn't have to touch anything, basically.
yeah, I love the new Zodiac Age, and I thought it was harder for the first little bit, just because everyone didn't have everything. But yeah, it gets fucking easy. But I can't finish the trials though. Like I get to like 90 something, and I get fucking hammered.
oh, see, I haven't even tried those yet, so I mean, I ended up buying it on the computer as well, even though I didn't like it because I love that game so much.
How many fucking copies of this thing do you have?
I've got 4 copies of Final Fantasy 12. So,
Oh, nice.
but yeah, I got it on the computer too, which lets you play the hard mode from the beginning, and I like that version. So basically, you don't level, so you have to rely completely on the license board, which is basically like Final Fantasy X with the sphere grid.
Yeah.
You know, if you need more HP, you got to find it, and that kind of makes it a little more difficult and a little more enjoyable for me. So
That's crazy. Okay, wow, cool. All right, the controversial FF13.
the greatest game of all time.
Already.
No, I'm kidding. I hate
Okay,
that game.
I was like, okay, hold on. Got to get my bearings straight here. Okay,
That's a wake up call. Yeah, no,
you hate
know what?
13. Okay,
I didn't have a PlayStation 3 when the game came out. It was the middle of the recession, and like my job was only giving me like 7 hours a week, so I could not buy a PlayStation 3. So,
or food.
yeah, well, no, I got food, but I had to prioritize there. But so it took me a while to actually eventually get the game. Until I was in the military, I finally had like a steady paycheck and everything, and I picked up the game after I went out and bought a PlayStation 3, and that was the first game I bought. I knew it wasn't going to be very good because I'd already read all the reviews and everyone was pissed. And so I originally, when I first played it, I didn't like it, but I didn't think it was as bad as everyone had said. Mm-hmm. But I just recently replayed the game for the podcast, my podcast, and that game is not very good. I mean, graphically, it's stunning and it's got some great music, although there's some odd song selection for certain scenes. Like there'll be a dramatic scene going on and they'll have some like jazzy music, which is really strange. Like I'm just trying to figure out like how did they pick the songs on this game?
Fucking dartboard as hell.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, well, this
Jazz
works.
music. All right, fuck it. Put it in.
Yeah. So, I mean, that I didn't like that. I thought the dialogue was honestly on many of the scenes just absolutely terrible. Just way over the top. A lot of the scenes are like really, really forced, especially whenever they're getting their what do they call it? Not Eidolon. Is it Eidolon?
We'll go with that.
Okay, cool.
I can pretend like
they're
I know.
Eidolon. Whenever they're getting their guardian force or whatever, when they have their like little like emotional moment, it always felt really forced and like out of nowhere.
Totally agree.
And honestly, like the linearity of it it's especially bad. I know people say Final Fantasy X was linear and like all the Final Fantasies before that were linear, but like this just takes it to a new level. I mean, they literally like copied and pasted like the same map over and over again at some point.
Skinnier. That's the problem.
What's that?
Linear and skinnier. That's the issue with 13.
Yeah, I don't know. Like
Wow.
it's just
Too thin, man.
It's too thin.
Needs more meat on its bones. Yeah, the
Okay.
hallways are like actual hallways, like you would see in a house.
I think a lot of that too is that, especially the first 25 hours, which is a long time for most people.
Yeah.
For the first 25 hours, it is cutscene, 2 seconds of gameplay, cutscene, 2 seconds of gameplay, and they're not short cutscenes.
Yeah, and they're not
long.
interesting either, and they fuck
Well,
you with
yeah.
their terms.
I like cutscenes. I love cutscenes, but exactly, they're not interesting. Like every single
not.
cutscene, you'll notice every single person in the game has to like have a line they say, and it serves no purpose. And so exactly, it's like every 2 seconds there's a cutscene. Your data log's constantly being updated. When they do show you a cutscene, it's like out of order, right? So it'll show you like day 4, and then it'll show you day 9, then it'll show you day 2.
Yeah.
And you're trying to like wrap your mind around like what the hell's actually going
Yeah, because
on.
the game's already not complicated enough.
Yeah, at that point, yeah.
They
you're
have
just
to
like,
complicate it with the timeline issues. Yeah, I think what would have fixed that game, in my opinion, at least somewhat. I still don't think it'd be like the greatest Final Fantasy ever, but I think if they started on day 1 and then had the game kind of paced out a lot more slowly with a little bit more exploration, I think you would have had a better game. Even with those emotional scenes, you would have had more build up with the characters, and you would have gotten to those moments, and they might have meant something more than being force fed so much over the top melodramatic cutscene time.
Yeah, what did you think of the gameplay in 13 though? Because I think that's one of the things that I think is fantastic about it. I mean, the story is.
We have to disagree.
You don't like it, huh?
Yeah, well, I know. I think that it does a lot of things right. I think it's very fast and strategically, like I think it's really cool how you have to think through every battle. But that did feel a little exhausting to me, and honestly, like I hated the fact that if your main party member died, the battle was just over. But if your other party members died, it was not over. That just would drive me nuts. I did like when you did die that it would like immediately let you do the battle again. But I mean, too often I felt like I would die because of the AI or something out of my control, and it just goes with how restrictive the game was. I mean, it only let you go forward, it only let you do these specific classes, it only let you go in one direction on the paradigm thing or whatever. It only let you play as one character till like halfway through the game. But I mean, I have a lot of respect, I think, for what they were trying to accomplish with the battle system, and for people that actually have taken their time to learn the system and really figure it out. I think it's actually really rewarding. But for me, I just, I didn't like it.
Yeah, I'm glad you put it that way, because I was afraid you were going to say it wasn't something you could just grind your way out of. And that's one of the things I respect about 13 is the game's not going to let you make it your bitch, you know, and that's what a lot of these Final Fantasies will do. They're like, you want to fuck us up? Go grind for 20 hours. You'll fuck us up. But there's nothing we could do about it. But 13's like, you're capped, motherfucker. You can't fuck me up. Like you can in the end with the end boss. You could destroy the end boss, but it's not supposed to be that hard. But some of those Bartantalus fights, like you could be max CP and it's still a fucking pain in the ass, and it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, so for that reason, like I can respect it, because honestly, it had me playing a little bit more strategically, because a lot of times I will fall back to let me just put on a podcast or like something else and let me just grind for 9 hours.
Yeah. And
then I'll just coast through this game. And that game will not let you do that, which is very frustrating. So for me, but I mean, you know, it's really well thought out, and I think there's a lot of people that really enjoy it. So I think it's more of a personal preference thing.
Yeah. Did you play the spinoffs to 13 though? Yeah,
I actually, you know what? I find that I'm in the minority here, but I think that if you disregard 13 and just act like that never happened, pretty much, I think 13-2 is a better game.
Oh, I think it is a better game too.
I think Caius is way cooler than Bartantalus. You know, it's just a better game in my opinion.
Evil Pope man with the super long.
Dude, that was like the worst Final Fantasy villain of all time.
Yeah, he doesn't make any sense.
Like right after 10, they're like, now we're going to kill the Pope.
I love his theme music.
Yeah, I love the remix that we found of the theme. I think it's the greatest song.
And I love the boss fight. But I agree that bad guy's motivation and his actions.
His outfit.
When we broke it down on our show, it's like, this doesn't make any sense. This guy makes no sense.
He's like, hey, this is going to happen. And it happens. He's like, oh, by the way.
And now I'm going to try to stop you?
Yeah, he's like, but I have to try to stop you. Oh, maybe it's like a test.
It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Yeah. And in 13's storytelling doesn't make it any fucking easier to make sense of it either.
Doesn't.
So I mean,
in the game,
that's why I really like 13-2 a lot better. Hope was actually a cool character in that game.
Yeah.
The boss, the villain was cool. I found the whole time travel thing interesting to explore, but I know a lot of people did not like it because it kind of like undid 13. But I thought that was a terrible game.
You just ignored it.
Yeah, it's just like, this is a great idea. Let's just act like this never happened and just make a better game.
I will go ahead and defend 13 a little bit. 13-2 for me feels like a much smaller sort of game and a Final Fantasy to me. Mm-hmm. Especially the later ones are sort of like epic in scope, and I never thought 13 was lacking on the epicness.
Yeah. 13-2
especially
is
on a
kinda
visual
tame
sense. 13-2, yeah.
Better battle system.
Graphics aren't quite as good. Cutscenes aren't quite as good.
It's lower budget.
In that visuals, lower budget. In that visual sense, it to me is kind of lacking in that way. It doesn't feel like a main series game. So I don't know if I could agree with the it could replace it for someone playing through it. But
isn't it kind of sad that the story that deals with like time anomalies is more sensible and easier to grasp?
I know
than the
you
fucking
got
one that's
you
normally
got a problem
told?
with that. I've never had a problem with time plots. I just don't.
Well, it's ridiculous that a game that doesn't show you the full truth is less confusing than 13's. Is what I'm saying.
True. That's true.
13's is shittier.
Less confusing. Yes,
It's shittier, and it's told in a linear fashion slightly, even though the days are out of order, than the game that doesn't know what's real and what's fake, and you have 7 million different possible endings.
Well, that's because I think 13.2 player motivations are more understandable than 13, where I'm just like, I don't know. Like, that's not what I would have done. Like, this, I don't know. So
yeah, it also has a smaller cast, though, as far as main cast. So that's a better way of doing that. They keep saying, like, FF6 didn't have, like, a main character, but honestly, you only spent a lot of time with 3 of those guys.
Yeah, with Terra, Celis, and Law.
You didn't spend, like, a bunch of time with all 9 of the playable characters or whatever. No, there's more than there's 12, right? You didn't spend a ton of time in FF6 with every single character.
Like Go-Go, you spend like 30 minutes at the end of the game with.
So I think there was main characters in Final Fantasy VI for sure.
Yeah, but to me, like, I don't know, because that's what they were trying to do with 13. When you read up stuff on the making of, they were trying to have it so that it's like, oh no, pure main protagonist driving the story, and so
see, they say that, but then they force you to use a character for like substantial parts of the game, and it's like, well, I don't know.
And like when all the characters are pushing towards the same goal, does it really matter which one's the protagonist?
But that's why you get one super dramatic scene per character.
Yeah, because they're all pushing towards that goal, and it's
they're
painful.
all anyway,
and it takes way too fucking long.
Did you play Lightning Returns?
I own it, and I played a couple of hours of it, and I like the battle system, but the story is just like, whoa, I don't know, like this seems a little gutsy.
Oh, it's bad.
Like I was trying to figure out, like, first off, wait, so this is like older Hope, but it's in young Hope's body.
It's God.
Why didn't you just use older Hope? And then somebody later told me that it was actually God.
Yep.
And young Hope's body that was supposed to be older Hope. Like, that makes no sense. Or like Lightning can't feel emotion because God took emotions away from her, and that sounds like that just makes a boring game. I don't know. So I didn't really like it that much for that reason, but I thought the battle system was really cool.
The battle system is the best part of that game.
Yeah, and the combat, and I like the time management. I think you should play it. I think it's a great game. I think the story is absolute trash, but you shouldn't expect anything more from Toriyama, given the 13-2.
Fine words.
Dude, 13, they're all trash.
Was he the guy who did 10-2 as well?
Yeah.
He fucking
he did
is.
10-2 as well, yeah.
Yeah, fuck that guy. That's what I say. He can't tell a story. You can give Tabata as much shit as you want for having like endless and mindless side quests, but at least his fucking story is enjoyable to some extent. It doesn't take 80 hours to get through. 15 is a 10-hour game on New Game Plus. It's a great story when it's 10 hours.
I find it baffling that he did 10-2, and okay, yeah, it was commercially successful because it was the first Final Fantasy sequel, but like, if you just look at the backlash, like, everyone hated that game when it came out for the most part. It's got some lovers now, but so they're like,
those people who need to be hospitalized, but
yeah, but they're just like, let's have this guy direct a main series game.
Yeah. After that, they thought it was a good idea to give him a main game, and then 2 spin-offs to that main game. There's something going on.
Yeah, they should bring that guy and like just have him like manage like the mailroom or something. Like, I don't know.
He should manage the gameplay. He's pretty solid at creating fun gameplay. But
I think we need the Kitase and Ito team back. Yeah, that's what I think.
Here's what I think with that, though.
Yeah,
I think that Kitase needs to be like, he needs somebody over him that can like kind of keep him at bay. And I think whenever Sakaguchi was involved, he was kind of like that filter that would like keep him from doing like absolutely retarded stuff. And whenever you have Katase without Sakaguchi involved, you get stuff like Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy 13, where he's the producer. I'm telling you, man, like, I'm not sure, like, I think he's really talented, but I think that without the gooch, things get a little wild.
Make Square gooch again.
Well, maybe when Kitase eventually gets fired, he'll go over to Mistwalker Studios.
Then we'll have a god tier.
Then we'll have the team back.
Well, this is why I am worried about the 7 remake, because you have Nomura who nobody knows what's going on in Kingdom Hearts, really.
Right.
Because the story is so convoluted. Then you're going to put Katase on there, who loves really complicated stories. Like, I think 7 remake is going to be difficult to understand for sure.
Well, Nomura did have a lot.
And it'll take about 15 years, and someone's going to get fired, and
then fucking Dudu did 15 will make it, and it'll just be 10 hours of cutscenes and 70 hours of mindless questing that just makes you want to hang yourself.
You want to go get some pears?
I want 100% this. Oh yeah, some crab apples or whatever the fuck those things were. God,
it's funny that you're saying that, and then remembering back on Crisis Core and just missions,
mission after mission, and then I was doing the
where you go down
ones.
A hallway and then beat a guy at the end.
Yeah, that's exactly what the guy does.
300 of them, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I got like 120, and it was like, oh, now everything does instant death to you. So if you get hit, you die. And I'm like, that's not. It's just stupid now. Like, I don't want to fucking do this. Like, there's no reward. It's just hallway, pain, restart, hallway, and then
All right, so let's round out the main series. Did you ever play 14?
Can't remember. I got it originally when it came out. I liked it, but I don't know. Maybe it was my.
Oh, you were whoa! Originally, when it came out?
No. I didn't get the original garbage dump.
Okay, all right. It's like I had to.
Yeah. So I didn't get it when it originally came out because I saw the reviews and everything, and I'm not a big MMO guy to begin with, so I'm not going to play a bad game. Right. But once they remade it and it was getting great reviews, I bought it for I think my PlayStation 3, and I played it on there for a month or so. I liked it, but I didn't want to keep paying every month, so I stopped. But about a year ago, I got it again, played it for a couple of months. I really like it. I want to get back into it, but the thing is, like, I don't know, like, if I'm playing a game longer than like 2 or 3 weeks, I'm ready to move on to something else. And like, this is like playing online games is kind of like a hobby. Like, you have to keep like, you have to commit so much time a week to doing it. And but I mean, some of the stuff they've been doing with having Final Fantasy Tactics, like missions or whatever, and then Final Fantasy VI theme stuff. And I think it's really cool, and it really wants me to jump back in. So, but I thought it was a really good game, and from what I played, so.
All right. Well, did you beat the campaign? I'm just wondering, the original Realm Reborn.
No, I got like halfway through it. I don't know.
It's tough. Sometimes.
Yeah, I trained my gladiator, and then I got him to be a paladin, and then like I don't know. I think I like lost track where I was in the plot, and I came up to renew my subscription. I was just like, let me just play something else for a while.
Yeah, I get you. All right, 15. What are your thoughts, man?
I did not like that game.
Oh, dun dun dun! I liked it a lot. Schweiss is kind of middle ground on it. In case you need a rehash, go ahead.
Like, aside from the fact that like they now have whoever thought that it was a good idea to have critical story points as DLC that's just ridiculous. But that aside, I felt like when I bought the game, I was excited for it, and the first half of the game for me, the whole open world aspect was very lackluster. The fact that it was just constant fetch quests with no real like actual contribution to the plot, I didn't like. I think the first moment like it occurred to me that like I wasn't going to like this game is when I got a mission objective to avenge Jared, and I didn't even know who the hell Jared was.
Yeah, you're like, wait, who?
Yeah, so that really like hit me at that point. I was like, this is not going to be a good game for me. But I kept playing it. I was very confused why the prince, who is the only person that can rescue the entire world from darkness, is risking his life to rescue a car. I felt like there was other cars, so that was strange. I did not know why we were not running into more people from Insomnia, or why the world itself was not affected by the Empire. Everywhere I went was happy-go-lucky, pretty much, but yet the Empire was so evil. I didn't understand.
Well, we were out in the countryside, to be fair.
Well, yeah, there you go. I guess, out there it doesn't matter, but I don't know. It just didn't jive with me. I mean, there's so many story points that I felt like were like really just not well executed. When Prompto has his revelation, I was like, that was a big revelation, and like it was just like it was over in like 2 seconds. Like it just didn't work with me. I mean, I think Arden is like the savior of that game. He is one of the best Final Fantasy villains, in my opinion. So, but like the game itself, I did not like at all. I played all the DLC thus far from last year. I'm not going to get the season pass coming up because I realize Square is just going to keep doing this. And I think eventually I'm going to wait till they have the Final Fantasy 15 Complete Royal Edition 5.0, whatever version that is.
Volume 1.
That actually has everything in one solid game, and then I'll give it a shot then. But it just boggles my mind. This game took supposedly 10 years to make, even though they restarted several times. And I don't know. This is what we got. Like I felt like the whole Luna thing didn't really make sense to me. I just honestly I didn't like it. Like I didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first quests in the game is finding a guy holed up in a shitter. Like,
I'm like, what is this? And then like he's like, is this guy going to join the party? Is he like? Yeah. You never see this guy again, really.
Yeah, where's Dave? What happened to Dave? Yeah, I remember Dave more than I remember Jared, and that guy I found in a bathroom stall, like in an outhouse. Like, yeah. I feel
yeah, and then like after the with the whole World of Ruin, I thought that was a cool idea, but then it was over in like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
We didn't even get to see anybody. All we saw was Talcott, which just reminded me of Jared.
Yeah, it reminded me of this guy that I should remember, but I don't. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, and if you talk to him, he keeps talking about Jared, and I don't give a fuck. Like it was just like so.
Yeah, that Jared, man.
Oh boy,
that Jared. It's Quiznos, Jared.
All right. So, any of the spin-offs or anything you want to talk about, or movies?
I mean, I've watched all the movies. I thought they were great for what they were supposed to be, video game movies. I did not think they were blockbusters or just like could hold a candle to any actual movie that was made. But for what they're supposed to accomplish, I thought they were okay. But I think my favorite spinoff, I think, is Final Fantasy Tactics. That game is, I love that game. So I've never played the War of the Lions version. I played the original version, but I really like it. So,
all right, you're not alone in that opinion, certainly. All right, so do you have your rankings ready? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I do.
Sweet. Let's go through them. Bottom to or worst to best.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're going to laugh when I say this worst game, but Final Fantasy 15.
Wow. The worst game?
Yeah, I did not like that game, I'm telling you.
Come on.
Dude, like, I thought
FF2
about it. I was like, this is
3?
really fair because, like, they have some good dungeons and such, but I just do not like the idea that they're pulling core story points out and then trying to sell it to me later. Like, oh, how did he go blind? Pay $5. Like, I don't like that. So that's why I put it at the bottom because I can't be about that.
Because it's betrayal. Yeah. Okay. All right. Fine. I'll live with it. Not that I have a choice. Okay. What's next? Worst. Less
for me,
worst.
It was Final Fantasy 1.
FF1. Okay.
I thought it was a good game to start the series off, but that's pretty much the only reason why I would play it for historical purposes. And then from there, I went to Final Fantasy 3.
Okay, it's looking more familiar.
Yep, cool. I don't know if you guys are still there. So Final Fantasy 3, and then I went to Final Fantasy 2. Then Final Fantasy 13. Final Fantasy 5.
Low. Yeah, 5. Okay.
Final Fantasy 4. Final Fantasy 8. Final Fantasy 12. Fantasy 6. Final Fantasy 10. Final Fantasy 7. And Final Fantasy 9.
Okay, all right. So some variety here, certainly from our list. Looks like the top 4 games seem to be about the same every time.
Yeah.
So
well,
we got
except for 9.
So now I'll go best to worst real quick here. 9, 7, 10 are the top 3. 6, 12, and 8. Notice Schweiss that he put 8 above number 4, which is next. 5. And then I assume these are ones that you just don't like from here on out. 13, 2, 3, 1, 15.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I don't hate them, but if I had to rank them, that's the way I'd put it.
Yeah, I get you. All right, that's respectable. What do we got here, Schweiss?
We have 5 questions for Stump the Host.
Stump the host. Let's do it.
All right, so first question will go to our esteemed guest, Hat. What is the code for the safe in the Shinra Manor in Final Fantasy VII?
That's a good question.
It is.
56, 47, 22.
No.
Oh,
Joe's
okay,
never
I
going to
don't
get
know.
this, but...
I'm not going to get it. Just no.
All right, fine. It's right 36,
Oh.
left 10, right 59, and right
That's right.
97. I knew you guys. It's either a yes, I know it, or no, I don't know it. So there is no point in going back and forth.
I always look that up. So
Yeah. So Joe, what is the highest rated Final Fantasy in the mainline series?
Highest rated what?
Metacritic score.
Metacritic score. FF9.
Yeah, that one's gonna be easy.
yeah,
All right, Hat. What is the lowest rated Metacritic score for a Final Fantasy in the series, mainline series?
this is difficult. Okay, my gut reaction would just be to say 13, but I don't know where these like regular Nintendo games rank. Final Fantasy 2.
No, Joe. The worst ranked Metacritic.
14.
No.
What? Okay, you get one more shot at this.
Okay, let me go with Final Fantasy 3.
No, it's 15.
Oh my God, really?
15 has an 81, yeah.
I was going to say that as a joke, but
I thought you were going to totally say it and get it. But yeah, actually, I didn't actually look at 14, but that one doesn't count.
Okay, I guess
That's kind of screwing you out of your guess, but I don't even know if I would believe a Metacritic score for an MMO like this. How do you critically review that?
well, it's
Anyway.
because you have people paying monthly too. Like so, like clearly, there's people that are in love with it.
Yeah, it's just it's tough. It's tough. So this one will go to Joe first. What is the name of the Thunder Summon in Final Fantasy X?
In FF10, it's shit. Ixion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, shit. This is a Joe match here. Anyway, we'll go.
Yeah,
back
I'm not
to,
good at trivia, guys.
We'll go back to Hat. This one you should know. What is the name of the Clan Centurion's leader in Final Fantasy 12?
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's a ridiculous question.
You know the answer. That's because you also played, another game that he's in.
Oh, is it Monty Blank or something like that?
Yeah, it's Mont Blanc. Yeah.
Boom.
He
There we go.
also
I got one.
He also appears in Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Not that game's real, but he's in it.
Yeah, it's
So
in
for what
a
it's
dream,
fucking
right?
worth. Yeah, Dream World. Well, good attempt, but this time Joe reigns supreme. I do feel bad because he had some easy ass questions. But it is a 2-1 victory, so not too outshined. Gotta brush up, man.
Got to brush up.
Yeah,
on
I'll
those
have to
Yeah,
start
good.
memorizing the combination for Vincent's safe.
Yeah, you gotta have all that shit down. If you want to speed run, you gotta have it memorized. You can't have a little tab open with the code or anything. Yeah, man.
Critical information.
This has been a good episode. It's always fun having people on. It's always good to get second opinions on it. I mean, we haven't had. It feels like we haven't had someone with this varied of a list in a little while. But I'm glad to find another Final Fantasy 12 fanatic out there. It's there aren't too many of us in the world.
Yeah, it seems like
I think
from
there's
the last
more
couple
than
of
there are than you think there are.
Yeah.
seems like the last couple of episodes have been people in love with Final Fantasy VIII. So maybe a little change of pace here. So
Yeah, you're like, you know what? It's my favorite, but I'm not going to tell him that on this. I'm going to make it different.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. So, anyways, hopefully you go back and finish those ones that you haven't knocked out yet. There's some great stuff in them, even in Lightning Returns. And have you listened to our reviews of games you haven't beaten?
Yes, I have. So I know how they end and everything, but spoilers don't bother me. So
yeah, well, that's good. I mean, the ending to Lightning Returns is awful. So
yeah, isn't it like Earth or something like that? Like
yeah, it's fucking Earth. Yeah, that's what it is. It's stupid.
Yeah. Well, see, that's something like I'm glad I know, so it can like prepare me
for how awful it is, dude. It's bad.
Yeah. I just need like to mentally like know that, so like it doesn't ruin my evening.
It happened, and like I almost couldn't believe what I was watching. I was like,
God,
what,
dude? I put that out of my head for since we finished that game.
It's so
I put
dumb.
it away, and now that memory is back.
Finish it, and they're like, "Oh, we were reborn."
Well, FF4 did the same thing.
Yeah, I
but
guess
that's like a Super Nintendo game, like, and then like it's just
you can live with it if it's Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I can't handle it. Yeah, it's
here's what that means. That means FF13 and FF4
are in the same
and Spirits Within.
Oh, that is technically true.
Are in the same universe. And thus FF9, because FF9's story also references FF4 when Ramu is talking to you.
That's true. Yeah, there is a 4 reference.
When people say Spirits Within is not connected to any other Final Fantasy, I say it takes place on Earth.
It's more connected. It's connected to more Final Fantasies than any of the other movies.
I think that movie. Yeah, I mean, obviously a joke, but I think that movie, like when I first saw it, I was like, that game. This has nothing to do with Final Fantasy. It drove me nuts that my parents would be like, "Yeah, I like the movie," every time I talked about the game because, it had nothing to do with it. But I went back and rewatched it recently, and besides the like preposterous like last half of the movie. And the way the villain goes out, like, hey man, just let the cannon cool down for a little bit. You don't have to kill everyone.
Yeah.
So the whole mythos behind it it seemed like kind of similar to like the live stream.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, kind of Final Fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it's only one of them, but still, it's the big one, so that's all that matters, right?
All right. Well, thanks, Hat, for coming on. Really appreciate it. You were great, by the way. And so I'm sure your podcast is great. Go check out Phoenix Edge RPG Podcast. Do you want them to follow you anywhere else?
No, just check us out on YouTube if you want to. That would be fantastic. Every Tuesday, and then you can get the audio version in iTunes or wherever you subscribe to podcasts.
Perfecto. All right. Thanks, Hat.
Yep. Thanks for having me on, guys. A lot of fun.
Do 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 brown do 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 rim dim bim rim dim rim bum bum dun 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 ding 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 yeah dun 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 dun